Hello everybody, video here for you today. This is the No Cap Recap of the new Oak Island companion show series Tales from Oak Island, Season 1, Episode 5, called Decoding the Duke d'Anville. Originally aired December 17th, 2024. I recap the main show late Tuesday nights and this show a day or two later. There's a link to my Oak Island playlist in the upper right. Let's get into it. Previously, on the Curse of Oak Island, people have been looking for an incredible treasure for 229 years. Narrator Robert Clotworthy first catches up any new viewers by telling of the discovery of the Money Pit in 1795, and over the last 229 years have found man-made artifacts in it. He then says that things have been discovered all over the island, as this photo is shown that I don't recall seeing before of a stone wharf. There are remnants of several around the island in Mahone Bay. No excavation or recovery is allowed in those waters. Other structures have been found away from the Money Pit area that date from the 1200s to the 1700s, the oldest being the paved area in the swamp shown here, as well as a stone road in the southeastern part of the swamp, plus a slipway, the U-shaped structure, and evidence of a flood tunnel, all in Smith's Cove. Not mentioned yet is the still being hand excavated structure on Lot 5 that was purposefully buried. It appears to have had several stages of construction and use. Some researchers suggest that due to the widespread construction all over the island, as well as all the different dates involved, that the Money Pit is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Researcher and author Corin Mall says in a new interview that it indicates multiple related groups at different times in history that apparently had a fixed command structure in order to facilitate all of the building that happened on the island. In 2017, researcher Doug Kroll found an English translation of 8 pages of an unknown French ship's log in the Nova Scotia archives. Mentioned in it is the Duke d'Anville. He was in command of a large armada the French sent to the New World in a failed attempt to recapture Nova Scotia from the English in the 1700s. The logs read in part: September 6th, enter a deep bay with several hundred small islands southwesterly of what is now Halifax Harbor. The great amount of treasure on this vessel makes it unwise to jeopardize it by having any engagement with the enemy. September 8th, it is agreed that a great pit be dug and treasure securely buried, the pit to have a secret entrance by a tunnel from the shore. The last entry of the log is September 13th, and it says, at 67 feet, pit is damp from seepage of seawater. Have decided to dig deeper to dry soil. It would seem to be a perfect description of Oak Island and the Money Pit specifically. Jean-Baptiste Louis Frederic de la Rochefoucauld is the Duke's birth name, and that last name is written on Zena Halpern's map after the English took the French stronghold of Louisbourg, France. Sent the Duke with 64 ships to retake Louisbourg, drive the English out of Nova Scotia, and then to burn Boston. None of that would happen, though, as the fleet suffered many delays due to storms, and by the time it reached Louisbourg in September of 1746, 48 ships and thousands of sailors were lost at sea. Days after the arrival, the Duke himself died due to illness. The remaining ships and crew were soon ordered to return to France, except for one, which is possibly the origin of the ship's log. In 2022, a researcher met Marty, Alex, and Charles at the National Archives to share a recent discovery. In the 16 and 1700s, the French and English both would often save documents found on captured vessels, including ships' logs. A British privateering ship called the Lively was captured by the French in January 1746, and the records are signed Rochefoucauld, Duc d'Anville. This was 8 months before the fleet supposedly arrived, so the researcher thinks that the Duke was already in the area and therefore could have had advanced knowledge of Oak Island and possibly have made many trips to the area. Journalist Randall Sullivan, who wrote the famous Rolling Stone Oak Island article, says that one of the ships that were quote unquote lost at sea could have just had a different mission to bury treasure on Oak Island. The Rochefoucauld family was one of France's most influential families and were very instrumental in the settlement of the New World. Months after the Duke's death, an Admiral Allison of the British fleet captured one of the French fleet ships, the Diamant. Allison put its commander named Hauquart in prison, where he was likely interrogated for information on the French fleet's activities. There are many letters from the French to the English asking for Hauquart's release, including for members of the Rochefoucauld family. There have been hundreds of artifacts dated back to the time of the Duc d'Anville of both English and French origin found on Oak Island. The Rochefoucauld family had numerous ties to the Knights Templar. If that order was on Oak Island before the Duke's lifetime, it's possible that he could have known about it through his family. The Knights Templar are the number one suspect for the 12 and 1300 structures on Oak Island due to the engineering knowledge and manpower needed to construct them. Of the aforementioned Zena Halpern documents, the map of Oak Island with locations written in French and dated 1347 also has the name Frédéric Rochefoucauld written on it. Also, in 2022, when Marty, Alex, and Charles traveled to Royston, England to visit Royston Cave, believed to be a Templar initiation chamber, Gretchen Cornwall pointed out that one of the bricks has 1347 carved into it. In 2022, the team uncovered the garden shaft that was thought to be a searcher shaft, but the wood, carbon, and dendrochronology dates match the Duke's time in the area. It is postulated that the French could have created the shaft as a way to either access an existing treasure vault or to construct a new one. The team refurbished the garden shaft and went deeper with it with the intention of tunneling to places of interest, which would be much better than drilling. Unfortunately, water remains undefeated on the island to this day, as probe drilling caused the garden shaft to be flooded. Due to likely instability from a continuous pumping regimen, the garden shaft was abandoned. The water testing also revealed gold content in the garden shaft, but as of the December 18, 2024 main show, the highest concentrations were more south around the Hedden and Chapel shafts. Nearby borehole F4 continues to be the highest gold content readings consistently. Coincidentally, or not, the Hedden Hunt is the name of the next Tales episode on January 7th. In 2019, Rick and Charles visited Fort Louisburg, the final resting place of the Duc d'Anville, in search of connections to Oak Island. While there, they saw that the French had built this drainage system which seems an awful lot like the description of the flood tunnel from Smith's Cove. Next time on an all-new Tales from Oak Island episode called Hedden's Hunt, airing on January 7th, 2025. In the late 1930s, a man named Gilbert Hedden explored some of the most astonishing theories. He made some of the most critical discoveries in the entire history of the Oak Island treasure hunt. Again, there are no new episodes of this show or the main show on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. I'll be continuing no-cap recaps of The Curse of Oak Island late Tuesday nights as the new episodes air, and this show Tales from Oak Island a day or two later. My Oak Island playlist is in the upper right. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Sempre avanti. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to all.